Hello fellow Nyans, it's 23rd December 2022 and we're off to Iceland. Before we flew off, we caught the end, or beginning, of a rainbow. No pot of gold, but from this moment we had so much luck during the entire trip. If you're interested in all the lucky things that happened to us, I could make another video on it. We checked into our hotel, but there's no rest for us because we immediately went out to check out the town. Came across this hot dog stand, which is famous for its Brazilian pasta. I'm joking, it's obviously famous for hot dogs. We're still feeling peckish, but so many restaurants were closed as it was pretty late, but luckily we found this place that serves chips. Not very Icelandic, but it'll do. On the way back, we spotted the northern lights dancing across the sky, which is quite rare to see in the city centre, where there's lots of light pollution. When I got back in, my skin had an allergic reaction due to the cold, as I forgot to protect it with moisturiser. Okay, good night. It's Christmas Eve! It's crazy that even at 9 AM it's still so dark. Sunrise isn't till 11:30 AM, believe it or not. Here we are at the Sky Lagoon, which is a 10-minute drive from our hotel. Here is a private changing room with a shower which couples can even share and get ready together. It's the more expensive option, but you get to do the 7-step ritual treatment, which you can't miss out on. I stepped into the thermal bath with my hat on because the bath leads outdoors and it was absolutely freezing outside and I didn't want my ears to go cold, and it looked cute with my bikini, hee. The bath seemed to go on forever and the view looks out into the ocean, so it feels like you're in an infinity pool. The time we went was perfect to watch the sunrise. After playing around and making sure we were hydrated, we did the 7-step ritual treatment, which included jumping in a pool of cold water, a sauna, a salt scrub, and more. But I didn't film much of this because having my phone was just in the way of everything. We went back out and to our surprise, it was snowing. Heavily. The temperature had dropped even further, so much that Levi's hair was getting frozen. It was such an amazing experience bathing whilst there was heavy snow. We went back into town to check it out again since it was daylight, so we could see more and get some food. This is one of Reykjavik's tourist spots, the Rainbow Road, but it was all slushy and covered with snow. For lunch we chose a restaurant called Skógafoss and had this dish called blóðfiskur, which is Icelandic fish stew. It was so delicious! We came across this cute cat doing its business, and this woman be stroking it whilst it was peeing. The fuck? But I can't talk because I'm filming it, I guess. When it was done, that's when I was begging for its attention. This is another tourist spot in Reykjavik called the Hallgrímskirkja. I hope I said that right. It wasn't long till we were hungry for dinner and decided to eat at one of the many Vietnamese restaurants on the main road. I gotta support my peoples, you know. Okay, good night. It's Christmas Day! We didn't have any plans until much later in the evening, so we decided to go for a Christmas walk and go to all the tourist spots to make a cute compilation video of our couple dance. Obviously, because it's Christmas Day, nothing was open except for this Vietnamese restaurant, but what I ate wasn't very Vietnamese. The rest of the day we walked around finding more things to film our couple dance in front of, including revisiting some of the previous sites we saw. In the evening for dinner, we ate at a popular pizza place in Reykjavik called Flaties that made delicious stone-baked pizza. Here's Levi cutting the pizza with a knife and fork, not realising till he was done that there was a pizza cutter provided in the pot. Ha! We got back to get ready for our first excursion, which was chasing the northern lights. After about 1.5 hours of chasing, we managed to get the most beautiful green show. You can't see it well with the naked eye, but on camera it's more spectacular. The guides gave us some hot chocolate with Icelandic liqueur called brennivín and some chocolate treats to keep us going. I just want to add that it was absolutely freezing because we were up in the mountains and it was just a lot more windy up there. It's the 26th of December and today we're doing the Golden Circle tour. This is our tour guide and driver, Christine. After a 40-minute drive from Reykjavik, our first stop is the Thingvellir National Park. We did a mini hike of 20 minutes to the peak and watched the most crystal clear sunrise ever. We drove some more whilst admiring the scenic view, then did a short stop in an area where there was geothermic activity, which smelled strongly of rotten eggs. Of course, me being curious, I touched the water to see if it was warm, and to see if my fingers would smell of rotten eggs. The phrase Christine kept saying was, bubbles means troubles. So if you see this, obviously the water is boiling. We arrived at the Great Geyser to witness this natural explosive wonder. You can probably tell from my reaction that I got scared a little bit. Just a little bit. Then we did a half-an-hour hike, took pics and videos for content, then continued our journey to check out the Skógafoss waterfall, feed the famous Icelandic horses, and walked around the Kerrad volcanic crater, which, by the way, in the summer, all that down there is a lake. Our last stop is the Blue Lagoon, the most famous thermal bath in Iceland. By the time we got here, it was so dark we couldn't see any views in the horizon, nor see how blue the Blue Lagoon actually was. We got to put on a silica mud mask which made our skin feel so soft. Despite the water being warm, it wasn't hot enough to my liking, and the temperature outside was about minus 18 degrees Celsius, so we had to put our phone and camera away so our hands didn't freeze. We got back to Reykjavik and had a vegan Vietnamese meal to end a tiring but super fun day. Another day, another adventure, and the morning started with a heavy snowstorm. By the way, this was the monster truck that was our transport for the day to take us snowmobiling. At this time, I didn't know where we were heading, but after checking Google Maps, we were off-road heading towards Langjökull, the second largest glacier in Iceland. After about 2 hours on the road, we finally arrived at base unit to change to suitable gear. We drove a bit further up to the location of the snowmobiles, and where we also had a safety briefing from the expert. We messed around whilst we were waiting for other groups of people to get ready, and then we were off. It was pretty exhilarating riding around in all of the white scenery. We had to follow the expert on the path he created for us, otherwise we'd get stuck. We ended up falling over because it was so hard to see the path as Levi's visor was getting all steamed up. We stopped for a break to play in the snow and then rode around some more. Once we were parked up and changed out of our gear, our next stop was the Secret Lagoon, which is the oldest geothermal hot spring in Iceland, made in 1891. This one was less busy and felt like the hottest geothermal pool out of the ones we've already been to. We got back to our hotel around 8:30 PM and ate pot noodles for dinner. Checking out of this hotel now and picking up the car that we rented. We booked a Suzuki but ended up getting a free upgrade to a BMW. It was Levi's first time driving on the left-hand side and in icy conditions, so this felt like an achievement unlocked. We planned to go to the south of Iceland, driving along the number 1 ring road. Here are all the pretty views along the way. After about a 2-hour drive, we stopped for a break to admire one of the famous waterfalls, Skógafoss. This waterfall looks so much bigger in real life than in this vlog. Half an hour later, we did another stop to Black Sand Beach in Vik, but it was really awkward to get to because of all the snow. There was an actual pathway made by the workers to get here, but we didn't see it and followed Google Maps, resulting in us making our own new pathway and trudged about half an hour in knee-deep snow to see the beach when the walk was supposed to be only 4 minutes long. And yes, you can guess, it was freaking exhausting. Of course, after all that, it was absolutely worth to see, even if it was brief. As you can see, the waves are pretty powerful. Black Sand Beach is infamous for its sneaker waves that have been known to catch tourists for getting too close to the shoreline, and there have been unfortunate cases that have occurred, so be careful if you visit here. On the way back to the car, we found the pathway we were supposed to take and spotted these tourists taking the path that we went. I felt so bad because they looked like they were struggling as much as we were. So more driving, a snow truck shower, and a beautiful sunset later, we arrived in a little farm area called Hof, which was our stay for the next 2 nights. We ate a nice Christmas dinner and had an early night from a long day of driving. It's Levi's birthday! And this is how we started our morning. It wasn't even snowing, but the winds were blowing powdered snow from the mountains, making visibility so bad, especially since it was dark. It was 20 minutes of driving in this condition, but we made it to our pickup point on time. On today's agenda, we are doing the Glacier cave tours with our guide, Alex. We got into the monster truck to drive off-road onto the bumpy terrain and arrived in an area that looked like another planet. Fun fact, we're standing on the glacier where that ice scene in Interstellar was shot. Alex gave us our shoe spikes to prevent slipping on the ice, and we hiked for about half an hour to the caves. Just to note for you guys, we're going to be seeing 3 sections of the caves, where the last one gets really claustrophobic and dark. So we finally arrived at the caves and admired the beauty that overlooked us. I was in awe of how blue and clear everything was, and it was so cool seeing the volcanic ash stuck in time within the glacier. We headed further in and spent time admiring our surroundings. We were told that in the summertime, this area isn't even accessible because the river flows through here, so we're quite lucky to go at this time of year. So we headed into the deepest and most claustrophobic part of the cave. Here we are touching what Alex called glacier nipples. I was very excited to touch the nipples. When we got out, we were greeted with the sun, which apparently, according to Alex, was the first bit of sun that part of Iceland saw in a week. So, you're welcome, Alex. Levi and I brought the sun with us. Hee hee. When we got back, it was pretty much a mini zoo. We saw these cute sparrows, a couple of cormorants, and even seals. It was still only 3 p.m. and realised we weren't that far from Diamond Beach, which is a black sanded beach with chunks of glacier dotted around. We went to the side where there were less tourists, meaning less diamonds, but we saw enough glaciers and ice for today, so we didn't bother going to the other side and enjoyed the view and this seal instead. Bye bye seal! We drove back through the windy and powdery snow again, saw this cool rock formation, got back to the hotel and had cup noodles for dinner again. I said goodbye to the accommodation before we headed to the Troll Expeditions unit base to put on our gear for our intensive hike. We were told to wait in our car for everyone and then drive to the location to do our 5-hour hike. This is our guide and glacier hiking expert, Pascal. Again, we ended up being a small group of 4 people. It was a very intensive hike due to the elevation and cold weather, so we took our time and took breaks to admire the view as well as learn about the history and environmental impacts on the glacier. Strangely, there was this one random crow that stopped by us, which some people would think is a bad omen, but I thought it was a kind spirit animal protecting us on our excursion. And it also probably wanted food. We had to follow every single step Pascal made, and there were some parts of the glacier where only one person could walk at a time. So during this hike, I wasn't allowed to film as we were walking, obviously because of safety reasons, since we're hiking up elevated and slippery terrain, but I cheekily filmed this little clip. It was definitely exhausting, more so than a usual hike, because every step we took, we had to stamp our feet to get those spikes into the ice. Once we got to the top of our destination, we had a lunch break and of course admired the scenery. I don't think I could ever get tired of this scenery. We got back down using this rope because it was steep. Obviously, Pascal the expert didn't need it. As we descended, we looked back and noticed this one single cloud that was in the shape of an anchor, or maybe an arrow? I don't know about you, but I took this as a positive symbolic message, seeing how everything on this trip had been so good for us. We thought it was the end of the hike, but Pascal still had one more thing to show us, which were these narrow glacier pathways. It was so narrow, to go through one section you had to walk sideways and you could feel the walls almost compressing you. We completed the hike and took one last look at the glacier, wondering if or when we'd see it again. Sadly, due to global warming, this part of the glacier will not exist in 20 years. We had to get back to Reykjavik, so off we drove, straight after hiking. We stopped by at this pizza place for a break, for some black crust pizza, then after a total of 4 hours of driving, checked into our hotel room, which had this for a view, and that concludes our day. It's New Year's Eve and we slept in, starting our day late as we had no plans. We luckily managed to get a table at this restaurant called Bastard and had some cocktails and food before the New Year's celebrations. We then made our way to the park that held a bonfire. Traditionally on New Year's Eve, Icelandic people attend these bonfires as a sort of ritual to burn away all the old luck of last year and bring in new beginnings. Fireworks were everywhere in Iceland. Compared to major capital cities, Reykjavik's fireworks are not government funded, but in fact volunteered by the locals. We walked back into town to where most of the crowd were and to get ready to celebrate. Happy New Year! Surprisingly, there was no countdown when it turned New Year's Day, but the fireworks went on and on. On our way back, it was super windy that we had to lean forward to fight it. And that concludes our New Year's Eve. The last 2 days, we didn't do much but walk around and eat food, which I'll make a separate video on. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching the vlog as much as I enjoyed the trip. Thank you so much for watching!